Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Right behind me, also the empty MCC jail. Today, it's Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. Another month ends and another month begins. But what doesn't end for now, at least, the Trump docket. Yesterday, in further aftermath of Carroll v. Trump, we had reported how Alina Habba had asked Judge Kaplan to disclose his connections with Roberta Kaplan, the lawyer for Eugene Carroll. Well, it was Roberta Kaplan who responded, and she said, yes, we overlapped with Paul Weiss, but I don't even remember. And Habba ended up sort of retreating. She said, well, now that answer has been submitted, we'll just pursue with our appeals on other grounds. So there was that. Then, in a strange one, as we reported, there was supposed to be the sentencing of Aimee Harris for taking the diary of Ashley Biden from a rental or rehab, a little unclear, in Florida, and bringing it up to New York, to Mamaroneck, New York, to sell it. Now, the interesting legal issue is whether going back to get further evidence of who owned the diary it was never published by the purchaser, but took it out of the First Amendment. But Aimee did not show up. Long story short, she had written in to say she had child care issues and some health issues, but in fact, when the time came, she appeared on the Microsoft Teams from an emergency room with loud sounds behind her. She turned off her mic. The chief judge, highly respected, said, unmute yourself or you'll be in violation. So she turned her mic back on. When will she come north for sentencing? It's unclear. It's very unclear. We're going to cover that one to the end. We also stumbled late in the day on a discovery conference in the case of Delgado. Delgado versus Campaign for Trump? Yes. She sued. She apparently had a child with Jason Miller and then suffered pregnancy discrimination from the campaign. She wants to depose Eric Trump, and apparently she's going to get to do so. So there's that. Those are cases that we're covering. There was also finally a verdict in the case of the Russian oligarch Dmitry Rybolovlev versus Sotheby's. After a 3-week trial, very expensive lawyering on both sides, total blowout win for Sotheby's. No work. 4 works, 4 scams. Pretty strong evidence that a guy called Mr. Bouvier was totally lying, that he was negotiating these prices. In any event, no aiding and abetting by Sotheby's. Sotheby's is partying. Rybolovlev goes home. Now the question is, did he lose because he's a Russian oligarch and the jury doesn't like that? Did he lose because New Yorkers are like, hey, caveat emptor? Nobody quite knows, and maybe some jurors will speak. They're not an anonymous jury like the Trump Carroll one. Now, there's probably more to say, but I need to turn to the United Nations, because with all of the hoopla, as it turns out, the staff of UNRWA participated in the October 7th massacre. It's pretty devastating, and you'd think it would mean that to the degree that people are going to continue to give aid, they do it through other ways. But not only is the U.S. administration praising lavishly the work and preparing to resume funding, but we found, I guess exclusively, it's actually not that hard to find, that UNRWA is still hiring. Even as Antonio Guterres is crying poor and saying everything's stopped and the world's going to stop, they're actually still hiring people, and they're not just frontline aid workers. These are you can find the jobs. We've posted about it. So, again, this might seem, maybe there's an explanation, but the problem is we submit written questions in writing to Stefan Dujarric, the spokesman, to Ian Phillips, the head of News and Media Division, to Melissa Fleming, the head of, anti-disinformation of the UN, and there's no answers at all because there are a bunch of unaccountable censors. So it appears. Again, we're going to keep pushing. To be continued.